Welcome, everybody, to the Professor Rick Del Santo podcast. This is, of course, the Professor Rick Del Santo. I have a very special guest today. His first appearance on this show. I've actually had the opportunity to talk to you on previous podcasts. You've done some amazing things for me in the past as far as graphics and video intros and stuff. We're bringing in the Red Devil, Chris Mooch. What's going on?
How are you? Yeah, the video editing thing, that's my secret hobby. It keeps me busy.
Yeah, I love playing around editing on. I do make like a lot of graphic videos or graphics on my phone. My laptop. It's a lot of fun to just kind of hang around, and when you don't have anything to do, you know what I mean. I just kind of play around.
Also, being a worker in business, when you don't have the money to dish out to have somebody do it for you, it was just like, let me download it and start messing around, and it just picked up. And this was when I was in Florida too, and I was helping a company do graphics for them, but took advantage and was like, hey, we're not going to pay you for anything. And I'm like, okay. And then when I was done with them, they're like, can we have that stuff? I'm like, no, you don't own it.
I'm very thankful to people such as you, Nick Payne. Like, both of you have helped me quite a bit with things such as graphics and stuff like that. So I'm very thankful. And, I always offer people something to, but most people just refuse, and, I just give them make sure that they get the credit that they deserve out there.
It's one of those things to where I want to help everybody,
Yeah.
but when you take advantage, that's when I won't ask for anything, but I'll just back off.
Yeah.
But it's funny because, and too, I can feel people. You're a good dude. So I offer all the boys, hey, if you need me to do something, just let me know, and then
Yeah.
where it goes.
Right.
But I never ask for a dime. It's just like, we're all starting, and we should be helping each other in this business, but not everybody's like that. So
We have a good community, you know what I mean? A lot of us, I guess you could say, it's like patting each other on the back or giving each other a little boost, because I'm more than happy. I mean, I've had a lot of people on podcasts in the past to help promote them, and that's kind of like, where I go, what I do, etc. And that's not the only thing, but it's always good to create the brotherhood and friendship with a lot of people and help people, provided they're just kind of not going to take advantage of you. And there are guys out there that they won't be mentioned, but there are definitely guys out there who will take advantage of you, and we see them at shows all the time. So
yeah, I just want to see people succeed. So that's it's like when I go down to the Paradise Alley training facility and working with the younger guys and just watching them get it. You know what I mean? Because when I was brought up, it was a different time, and it was just one of those, let's see how much money we can get out of them before. And the school closed before I got it, so I had to learn as I went too, up until I found a school to go to. But yeah, this business is a crazy business.
did we talk to you? When I interviewed you previously on the Pro Wrestling Wire podcast, did I talk to you about that school that you mentioned right there?
Yeah, we touched base about it over there.
Right. I don't think you mentioned
Just
it. You don't have to mention the name.
Yeah.
I mean, you can if you want to, but I'm not going to, force that. And,
I want to say, so Bobby Ocean was training a little bit before I was, and long story short, we were trained by the same guy, and he had reached out and gotten me my first real serious booking. And that school, that company, Defiant Pro Wrestling, they eventually opened a training facility. Okay. And once I got there, that's where I started to pick up and learn and train with everybody. And at some point, I was even living there because I couldn't afford to travel from the house to there. But yeah, we touched base on it last podcast.
And if I remember correctly, Defiant Pro was based out of like the Naugatuck Waterbury area. Is that correct? Yeah, and I think they used to book their shows at the was it the Portuguese Club?
Portuguese
Club, yes. So I used to drive over to my uncle's and my grandmother's house, like kind of every Friday. I used to drive by that building all the time when I was younger, and then they started booking wrestling there. So then I started going to wrestling there. So that kind of had a little bit of specialness to me for a brief period because my grandparents lived right over there,
Every time I see that building, it has a special special spot for me because that's where I first started.
Hmm.
That I first started working monthly. I started out in the pre-show and then worked my way up, and then at some point, he took a hiatus because they opened a school on East Main Street in Waterbury,
Right.
literally walking distance from the mall. Luckily, in between then, I had a quick knee surgery, and then started rocking and rolling there. I won my first title there. Yeah, that company means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's that time period, and we're going back probably 10, 15 years, stuff roughly like that, right? Correct?
yes,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, the promoter has been gone. He passed away, ironically, a month after my dad passed away. Mike
That's
Milano.
right.
That was, I want to say, it was 14 years ago
Mm.
that he passed away. But he helped develop me and get me on my feet and get me going, and I learned a lot from him. So
Yeah. I remember him.
then, ironically,
I remember
that's
him, and I
when
remember watching him, seeing him on public access TV. On I don't know if you remember was it the Rich T show? The show Rich T was on. It was he hosted like a public access TV show on what was it, on Cablevision, out of which was,
I
it aired in the Woodbridge area, the Fairfield area, and Cablevision really didn't have a lot of areas in Connecticut, but for some reason, I think he might have been on other public access channels throughout the area as well. I can't remember really.
well, it's funny because he got his start also the same guy I did, Dredd did, Bobby Ocean did. We all kind of got our start with Jason, and
Right.
he was helping with Assault, and he would do their public access. He would put their stuff on public access, which it's crazy now. Just public access. It's crazy. Like just there was a couple companies. CCW used to have their stuff on a public access,
There's
and then
CCW. There's New England Pro Wrestling, which was hosted by the Hungry Man, if you remember. Big Daddy was a big part of that show as well. The Guardian of Chaos for many shows.
I keep trying to convince Big Daddy to come out of retirement and manage me. He just giggles.
I would absolutely love that because I've known that guy a long time, and having him, watching him all those times. I remember the first time I met him through Jason Knight. That was the first time I ever met Big Daddy, really, because I remember seeing him. He was working for Northeast at the time. It was that main event Derby, maybe. I might be getting the location wrong, but it was him, Yokozuna, Jim Neidhart, and Jake Roberts in the main event. I'm trying to remember who the other partner was, and that's the first time I ever saw Big Daddy. I ran in. I had a friend that was friends with Jason Knight. We went to go meet Jason at a bar, and Big Daddy was there. So, and it was just that was the first time, and that was after like a Monday Night Raw in the New Haven Coliseum. That's how long ago it was. So, and that building hasn't been standing for quite some time.
It's crazy. I don't think Jason gets enough credit for a lot of the talent that he helped develop, train, put out there,
Hmm.
give them art, stuff like that. It's good, bad, or indifferent. He had his hand in everything, and
Right.
I will always appreciate him helping get me started. Um, but yeah, and now it's been that was probably like 2000, late 2003, 2004
Yeah.
is when I started.
Yeah. Oh wow,
So
that long ago. Wow.
yeah, but and then too, I didn't really start working regularly until probably I want to say maybe late '05, '06.
Okay.
Like I did some stuff radically early on. Like I worked the last couple of Salt shows before, um, and then he got me. And ironically, at the last couple of Salt shows, the last one I remember, he had Chris Candido there,
Hmm.
and I had got him. And then he got me booked on an NWA North New Jersey show, and I got to meet him again. And then his school had closed, and then there was a pause there again until Bobby Ocean reached out and was like, "Hey, I need somebody to work," and I was like, "Okay." So that's
I had the
And then
opportunity. I had the opportunity to call one of Bobby Ocean's match up in Holyoke, Mass, like last week. So it was kind of an honor to be on commentary and watch him wrestle. So to get to be able to work with him, you know what I mean. There's certain guys in the area that I love to, that I've been watching for years that I'd love to call their matches, and I really had a lot of. It was a lot of fun being able to call that match. Me and the enforcer, Kevin Saban, right there.
me and him were, like I said, match at the hip. We were the pre-show for Defiant for quite a while, and then he got the call up to the main roster, and then shortly after I followed. But I there was that I owe a lot to him too because he we worked sporadically on and off for the longest time. So
Right.
it's been a while since I've been in a ring with him, but he's another guy that I at some point maybe I'll try and get back in the ring with.
Let me ask you. So, now that we've had the opportunity, we're talking earlier 2000 stuff that, I was around for that time. I recorded a lot of that stuff on a camcorder from the first front row or to the side and stuff like that. And I had a bunch of tapes. Some of my tapes, I'm sure you remember the guy Shane Torius who used to film them all for the public access TV shows and stuff like that. I think he went on and did some camera work for Ring of Honor as well. They borrowed some of my footage because I guess sometimes they wouldn't have enough battery in their damn cameras, and then I was still rolling, so they had to take stuff from my angle and use it. So that's kind of where I got my start in a way. You know what I mean? So many years ago. But what do you think about Jason's been putting out there? He's been starting Assault back up. What do you think about that? I think it's in New Jersey, maybe.
I think that's where yeah. I'm glad he's doing something, and he's so knowledgeable about the business.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's out there helping the future and
Yeah.
getting his name back there and all over the place again.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe someday we can reconnect and touch base and maybe do some work together. I've had the privilege. I worked him one time for Defiant. It, there's always that just chance. Hopefully, we bump into each other, and because, like I said, he gave me my start. But I'm glad to see that. Hopefully, there'll be more people getting to learn from him because he's got a mind for the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's been everywhere.
What do you think? Because I guess that at one point he put out there on Facebook. I'm friends with him on Facebook as well. He's been posting things about Assault and upcoming things, etc., etc. He says in 2025 they're planning on making their return to Connecticut.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's nothing wrong with more places to work.
Yeah.
I haven't reached out. I haven't talked to him. So hopefully, if I touch base, maybe something will come of it. But we'll see.
Seriously. So what's been going on with you in Paradise Alley? I've got a bunch of matches listed here in front of me that you took part in as of late over the last few months, and since you've been on the podcast the last time, and you've had quite the event where you've been taking on a lot of the younger talent that's just coming in there. I believe one of the guys it was his debut match, if I remember correctly. Maybe even more than that, more than just the one guy, because I mean you've some of these young guys have been thrown to the wolves, I guess, getting in there with you, and they're really not that experienced.
Man, the talent that's coming out there, they have pushed me to my limits. But again, it's just I have that age and just know when to lay down and pull something out of the hat. But it's been a wild ride, I beat Frost for the U.S. title, and then it was Corey Duke. I always add an S. He's got a lot of talent, and he's got a lot. There's a great upside to him, and then I believe after him, I had a rematch with Frosty and took advantage of. He had a broken thumb.
I believe that match was stopped short by the referee, correct? Because of because you're going after his thumb.
like I say, a win's a win. As long as I walk out with the title, that's all that matters. And then I believe it was.
Well, I saw that I got a couple guys here. You took on Marbury at one point.
Whew, that was a close one,
Yeah.
but luckily I had ace up my sleeve in the basketball. Um, Marbury, a lot of those guys that he's got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of talent. I always like getting in the ring with Marbury. Um, again, too, another guy that pushed me to my limits. Deuce, that was his first match. Watching a lot of these guys in the school, it's good seeing them, and it means a lot that Roma and Mario are giving me the opportunity to be their first match. And then it was Mirza. It's been a crazy couple shows, I will say that. These kids, they've got the gas in the tank.
Yeah, he Deuce, I gotta tell you that I don't like there's something I didn't like about that match. And I'm gonna tell you that he was trying to call me out because I wasn't paying attention to the match for a second there. I'm gonna tell you. He said, I picked up my phone for a second. I was answering a text message, and he said, Rick, get off your phone. I need your help. I was like, this son of a bitch. Like, just called me out in front of a few hundred people out there in the arena. I said, now I might as well just help you, but you were able to take care of that with that stuffed pile driver.
Sure.
So,
A lot of those kids, they have a bright, bright future because they're under a great learning tree
yeah,
in Roma and Mar. You know what I mean? They're brought in the right way. They work hard, and
yeah,
unfortunately, they got fed to the wolves.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
Mario Roma must trust you if he's throwing those young kids at you. You know what I mean? And he must, I mean, that could be the ultimate test for these kids. You know what I'm saying? Putting these new kids in there, and he trusts you not to necessarily, help them. I mean, basically to help them through the match.
I want to believe too. I'm down there at least once a week putting in the work too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I believe he sees, um, he trusts me. It means a lot. So especially having that, you know what I mean? We all know how it works when the company decides it's your turn. It means a lot. I was surprised, to be honest, but also my sights have changed a little bit. I don't know if you saw in the battle royal that just happened yesterday, my old tag team partner has returned.
I did. When I saw the graphic come up on the screen and then him come out, Andy Sweet, right? That's who you're referring to? I was
Andy
I
Steve,
was surprised. I said, "Oh shit!" I don't even know if anybody next to me realized who the fuck it was. Pardon my language, but I was like, "Oh shit, here we go!" Like this is some serious stuff. So, and
so
there was also some returns and debuts in that Rumble. So,
yes, sir. Um, did not win the Rumble, but that wasn't the plan. The plan was I knew Andy was coming back. So now let's just say sights have shifted to another set of titles. If I can hold on to this one, but with Andy Sweet being medically cleared, we're getting back together.
so I'm assuming you're referring to the tag team titles. So there's not a lot of tag teams there in PAPW right now. The tag team division is very light. You know what I'm saying? It's
That,
who are the tag
it's
team champs
prime
now? It's
as
the
we're looking.
Boricua Bombers.
Yes, sir.
What's that? Okay, so
It's
I'm
the
right.
Boricua.
Okay, um, and they and they haven't been back there for a few shows. Um, but
No, they haven't.
it's not a very heavy. It's not a very heavy tag team division right this second, like at this present moment.
It's not. I'm not sure when we're going to be tagging up, but sooner than later.
Right.
just
Right.
waiting.
Well, I wish you guys the best of luck. I hope that that's going to end up working out. I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yeah, me and him, yeah, we go back a very long time. We have tagged before. We were tag champs in a company in Mass, Revival Pro Wrestling. Um,
Okay.
and then I left for Florida. Ironically, um, how we look, Andy Sweet tore his ACL, and then the funny thing is how we lost the tag titles is we had Marcel Williams fill in for Andy Sweet, and he cost me the tag team titles.
Really?
Seems like he doesn't like being in tag.
No, I mean, I've seen him tag up a little, quite a bit, but it doesn't always work out because he's, who was he tagging? But Troy Stevens for a while over there, and he literally walked out on him and said, "Forget this."
Yep. But yeah, we've been wanting to get back there and tag team. But he tore his ACL, and he's been on the shelf for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And he's cleared. We're gonna maybe cause some havoc in PAPW.
Yeah, yeah. So it seems like there's just a lot of really great talent there. Zach Gibbs returned last night as the Scarecrow under the mask, and that was quite an interesting thing. I was there the night that he did he break his leg, if I remember correctly, when he came
I
down?
think he
Yeah,
broke his leg. I was
yeah.
in the
So,
back.
yeah, I didn't even know it until after the fact. I saw him getting helped up, and I wasn't sure exactly what the issue was. But it wasn't until like after I had gotten home that night that I had heard it from somebody. So, but yeah,
Yeah, that's scary. Knock on wood. Luckily, I've never had crazy, serious injury. But glad to see him back. I'm sure he's going to be wanting a shot
yeah,
at that thing. But yeah, he's a
yeah. I
lot,
mean, one of the
a
other things
lot.
is I want to.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. I think we're having a glitch area. Here, I wanted to ask you was like one of the things I was curious about is like you were the United States champion. Now, I've been speaking to a lot lately, probably the longest reigning United States champion in Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling history, Bloodsaw. What would you think if he was about to come back for that belt? And I think that it's been a while since he's come after that title.
I'm open to all challengers. He was my first opponent in PAPW, so we have quite a history. He's beaten me twice, so I'm sure he thinks he can just
Mm,
walk in and it may be the same outcome, but trust me, it won't be the same outcome. But I'm open to
yeah,
all challengers. Um,
yeah.
like I said, I'd like to mix it
All
up
right.
with him again. Even Stevens, even Troy Stevens. I welcome anybody. Um, as of right now, I know for Mania in Paradise, I have an open contract and nobody signed it yet. But I'm sure somebody will hop on it because I'm open to anybody,
Well, it's still a
anytime,
few
any
weeks
place,
away,
anywhere.
so it's still a few weeks away. Yeah, it's
Yep.
still a few weeks away, so I'm sure we're gonna find out at some point what that who that opponent is.
I'm
If
surprised
if it's
nobody.
named, unless it's just gonna be a no. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm surprised nobody. There was nobody willing to take the challenge for the Rumble. But
Yeah, I
I had
mean,
I had
I'm
plans for that.
surprised as well, to be honest with you. Yeah,
But hey,
yeah, I'm surprised. I mean,
it was a.
what did you what did you think of the Rumble as a whole? I thought it was. Did you watch any of it before? Prior to or post elimination?
Um, I watched a little bit post. But I have to say, Mirza got one up on me. Mirza. He's going to send him sailing, and all of a sudden I'm being thrown over the top. But hey, he got his. He got eliminated by Jeremy. He's another one that's on quite a bit of a tear. But
Jeremy Lacroix is another young star coming out of Paradise Alley. He's got an attitude. He's got no problem shit talking people, but when he goes out there, he really is just. I'm not kidding. Like when I first met this kid about a year prior to his debut, I come down to the school, and he'd always come down to Coliseum Pro and help out at the shows. This and that. I always thought he was a nice kid. I didn't really think that he looked like he was like he didn't look like a wrestler. He didn't look like he was gonna be. You catch my drift? Like he didn't look like he was gonna deliver anything. But then Garcia kept talking about how good he is in the ring, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, that's cool. Then I saw him wrestle, and I was literally blown away at like how good Jeremy Lacroix actually is in ring.
he runs that mouth and he backs it up. He's going to be another one that
Yeah.
I'm sure everywhere he goes, I'm sure he will have gold around that waist sooner or
Yeah.
later. All
Yeah,
those
it's
students, they're all
Yeah.
they're all
Well, let's talk about
hungry.
let's talk about the Duke boys. You know, you were just mentioning Corey Duke a few minutes ago. That kid's been out there working, and I got to say that for a kid that's been short in there such a short time, he's very, very good. Like I was there for his first match on at the brewery, and I was like, this kid, holy crap, this kid's just really good, and he looks like he's been doing it for years. You know what I mean?
He's got freakish strength and ability. It just
Yeah.
when we worked and locked it up, I was like, oh man, I'm in for some hard work with him. Like I said, he's got a lot.
The Duke boy, but now there's another
All
Duke
right,
boy that just
where were we? The
debuted last.
Duke
Well,
boy.
I wouldn't say he debuted last night. He snuck into the ring a few weeks ago, rolled up somebody for a pin. I'm trying to remember who, but then he made his his official debut last night in the Rumble. I know, right? I know, right?
Hopefully, there's not another one because they just keep getting bigger and bigger. Um, there's a lot of upside
Yeah,
to the Duke boy, singles or tag. Like I said,
yeah.
we got in the ring and tore it up, and they can go. They can go. The gas tank to go as long as they want. Again, too, I'll say it again. All of those PAPW kids, they all have something to offer
Right.
and bring to the table. And as time goes, they'll get better and better. And the guys that even haven't started wrestling yet, a lot of the students there, it's Roma and Mario just keep putting out and training great quality performers. So
How would you say that? Like, I think that
they do it the right way.
Mario, but I think that Roma's got like this is a guy that was on TV for a very long time. So was Mario, but this is a guy that's got like a particular mindset and particular skill that he's up here putting. He's training these guys. I mean, to me, Paul Roma's a legend. You know what I mean? This guy was he was one of the best performers of his era. I mean, I think he's a terribly underrated performer because I don't think he gets the recognition he necessarily deserves. But, I think that he was probably one of the best performers like of that era. And, he's out here now teaching a lot of these young kids.
Yep.
Really? Okay.
Well, and then you got to think Andy Sweet, he's a Roma guy. Marcel, he's a Roma guy. It says a lot that there's
Yep.
Even Brian Anthony, he was a Roma guy. It says something to that effect that there's all these Roma guys. You know what I mean? you're gonna learn.
He's going to prepare
the
you
right
for
way.
TV. You know what I mean? Like,
even
because he
even now,
was a wrestler on television, and
yep.
these days, places like WWE, TNA, AEW, they look for. There's a certain look you need to have, and he is ready for that. He knows how to do that.
Well, he's only going to give you good knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and advice, and he's going to train you the right way. Um, Even now, with me going down there, I've learned so much that's helped me along the way. You know what I mean? I always go to him and Mario and
Right.
go, hey, what do I need to change? What can I do? What do I need to get better? So going there, you're going to learn.
I mean,
And
those guys
then,
are everywhere. Yeah.
well, even the Miracle Generation, they're Roma. Yep. So it says a lot. You know what I mean? And I see those guys in there, and it's a great place to be and learn and grow. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just
So,
the
do you
place to
watch
be, in my
wrestling today
opinion.
in your personal life? Do you actually sit around and watch TV at all? Yeah.
So I don't, I do,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it's mainly I'll watch clips, and then if it interests me, I'll watch those stories. But every once in a while, like I'll throw on a pay per view and watch that stuff to keep up. I've never watched a whole AEW show. Nothing against the product. It's just if something catches my eye, I'll go back and watch it. But I haven't sat down and watched a full Raw or
Yeah.
SmackDown or anything of that nature in quite a long time. I'm sure once WWE's on Netflix, I'm sure I'll throw on Raw. But
Do
there's
you
just so much wrestling now that it's
realize, like, how
just
old are you, Mooch? 47? Oh, 37. 37. Because I think
thirty-seven,
your older brother, he's like roughly around my age,
37.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, so when I was a kid
yeah,
growing up in the 1980s, there wasn't that much wrestling on TV. And in the 1990s, there was probably even less. It was basically the war between WWE and WCW. In the 1980s, I used to get, you know, WWE or WWF. You know, they had 3 or 4 different television shows in the markets. NWA had probably about 3 or 4, maybe 5, and then there was the Saturday night show that they did, and then of course there was AWA World Class, other territories. I'd get Florida up here sometimes, Memphis. Right now there is more wrestling on television than I could ever imagine. If I was a kid, like in the 1980s and all this stuff was happening, I'd probably be in love. You know what I'm like, going crazy. But now, as a almost 50-year-old man, working constantly, and then of course doing wrestling as a hobby, like doing announcing and working, podcasting, all that stuff, I don't have time to sit down and watch every single thing. I don't know who does sit down and watch every single thing, but even if you don't like something, there's something out there for everybody at this time period.
I agree. I've never been one to
Yeah.
crap on anything wrestling wise. There's so much
Right.
wrestling now that there's something for everybody, and if you don't like it, don't watch it. Um, I don't like those internet people that just crap on stuff that they think they can crap on. Um, Now there is some indie stuff that
Yeah.
I've seen and watched, and I go, but again, like you're saying, there's so much wrestling out there. Not even counting, there's independent stuff now. There's so much independent stuff that on top of
The
all the major promotions, you got
IWTV,
like
yeah, that's got
what
like,
do they have? That
I
internet
mean, if you look at
wrestling
Friday, Saturdays,
TV
and
where,
Sundays, it's
yeah,
constantly streaming Friday and Saturday, Sunday, and then, well, there's Thursdays. There's programs at Wrestling Open on Thursdays, and which I do tune in if I'm not at work. There's people I know that are on that program because it's like an hour away from here, so I tune in. I get to see Marbury on there each and every week. So it's kind of cool to see him on such a large platform. Uh, you know, it's a great platform. I don't necessarily agree with everything that's on there, but I'm very picky when it comes to professional wrestling. I'm an old school style wrestling fan. I like traditional style wrestling. And you said that you don't crap on stuff, but if you've heard my conversations with certain people, I will absolutely crap on certain things. So, not in that internet fashion, however, you know what I'm saying? If it's, which it's different. I like deathmatch wrestling. I don't like intergender wrestling. I'm a very traditional person, and I want to see professional wrestling succeed, but I don't want stuff that just I look at and it's just trashy in a way. You know what I'm saying?
I will agree. I will agree with you on certain things. I've never been a big fan of intergender wrestling.
Okay. Okay.
I think deathmatch wrestling has its place if done right. Um, Again, too, it's you could tell a story with weapons, but
Make it matter. Make it important. Like if there's a
I
feud
again,
going
it's
on
not
and
my
then
cup
all of
of
a
tea.
sudden it's the end of a feud. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's like a big blow off match. So
yeah, yeah. But yeah, like so when I was a child of the Attitude Era,
same.
the Monday Night
Yeah.
Wars, and then you had ECW. I was a big ECW fan because to me, a lot of those
Right.
guys, it looked like, oh, I could fit in there. I could work there because they weren't all 6 foot, 7 foot, you know what I mean? Big muscled up guys. But now it's like you got AEW, WWE, um, TNA, you got MLW, you got NWA to an extent, and then everything else under the sun. And
I mean,
then
there's great platforms like YouTube.
there's
There's
so much
wrestling
wrestling. I
every
don't
day.
know.
I
I
went
don't think even.
through now when I was running a website. I went through and gathered information on every YouTube internet stream. Do you realize that I found multiple programs that stream each and every day, 7 days a week? So that's just to say, like, YouTube is a gigantic platform. Professional wrestling, everybody puts on a 30-minute to an hour wrestling program. The internet has just opened up so much for companies that might not be able to get regular television, that there's streaming platforms. And we're just talking about IWTV, we're talking about YouTube. And mind you, there's other streaming platforms that fight, or excuse me, Triller, whatever you want to call it, Title Match Network. There's so many different streaming platforms. There's just a place for everybody to watch professional wrestling these days, if to come across whatever they like.
Yep, there's something for everybody, and nowadays I think it's easier to make a
Right.
living as
Yes.
an independent wrestler than it was, let's say, when I started, or even early '90s, late '90s.
Right.
Nowadays, it's easy to watch your
Yep.
stuff or have somebody watch or just promote. Um, and two,
Right.
it's just learning how to use it properly too, which I'm still learning. Um, but it's a lot easier now
Hmm.
in a sense to where
And
everybody
social
can see you.
and social media is a big platform as
So
well, between Twitter, Facebook,
it's just crazy the
Instagram.
wrestling.
A lot of people do live streams right on Facebook. Yeah.
Yep. It's just knowing how to use everything properly. And I think just
Correct. Yeah.
not all companies know how to use it properly. You know what I mean? It's just it's crazy the amount of wrestling there is. I remember as a kid not knowing what WCW was until Hogan went there. Um, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
different time. It's crazy what wrestling has grown into.
As much as I
It's a
gotta tell you, I
different
enjoy
animal
the
now
fact
than
that
it
there's so much
was.
wrestling out there, it drives me crazy as well. Because I was like, as a kid, I was obsessed with wrestling. Growing up, it's like, am I still obsessed? To an extent, but at the same time, I'm sitting here like, Jesus Christ, there's too much. I try to watch anything that's, at least once to see if I'm gonna like it. In most cases, I'm like, these days, it's like, eh, it's just there's just too much out there for me.
There is, and I like. I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably on the same boat you are as into my taste of wrestling. I like stories. I tend
Yeah.
to sound like probably the generations before me. I will tell these guys to slow down and just make it mean something. But also, I try and tell them not to have the same match every time because at some point you gotta have a wide variety of moves and a move set because at some point I've seen guys have the same match just plugging in a different person. And not to say that I'm not guilty of that, but at some point,
Correct. Yeah.
how many times are you going to watch the same
Yeah.
match over and over and over again? In a sense, not like have your footprint, but I try to swap things in and out and just
Right.
depending on who I'm working, try and be a little bit different. Not saying I'm everybody's cup of tea, but um yeah, just there's a lot of wrestling out there. I want to say it's easier to be a wrestler now, but at the same time, you also have to stand out and be
Yes.
different and
Yes.
have it. Sometimes I struggle. So I try to keep up with everything, but at the same time, I'm happy where I'm at right now. If that makes any sense, I would like to start working more than I
Well, you're
do,
working several times a
but
month now, correct? Like
I'm picky,
PAPW,
very
I
picky.
think over the last couple months is putting on more shows than they have in a while. I
Yep.
remember when I first started hanging out there, you guys were doing, I think, alley fights might have been every week. You know what I mean? They were doing the alley fight series.
So I missed out. I so PAW before I moved to Florida, PAPW was the
Hmm.
last company I worked for. But I missed the alley fights. That was wrapping up or done by the
Yeah.
time I got back. But I believe it was last month where they had a show every weekend. Um, but I think now with Andy back, things are gonna start picking up in that sense to where me and him are on the same page. We're gonna try and make a good run um,
Right. Well,
with the tag team thing. So we're working some kinks
I
and
wish you the best of luck with that.
bugs
I hope
and
that
getting him back in the
that's
ring.
going
So
to be successful for you guys. I'm sure I'll be around to witness a lot of this. Yes, sir.
yes, sir. Because like I said, PAPW is home for me right now. They'll always be home in first priority.
Hmm.
But we're gonna start dipping our toe in other things. And like I said, it's just me being picky
Right.
and quality over quantity right now is what I'm looking at. Again, too, when I first got back to Connecticut, it was working off the ring rust, and
Uh,
but a
there's
lot of these
an
talents coming
amazing
out of
list of
PAPW, you got to
wrestlers.
be
Don't forget,
ready
we didn't
because
mention
they're gonna,
we mentioned everybody that's
yeah,
brand new to the company. We didn't mention Kaizu either, who's another young up and comer he's been a little bit brutal. I mean, tearing people apart as of late.
he
Yeah,
is he's a he's a tank. Watching
yeah,
him,
absolutely.
he's
Yeah,
He's an up
so
and coming
I
force
wish them
too.
the best of luck.
All the guys.
Mooch, what else do you have coming up that you could mention up here before we close up?
Nothing right now. Like I said, PAPW is the main focus, but once me and Andy get up and going, there's going to be
Well, I look
there's going to
forward
be
to
a
that.
change
And
coming.
why don't you
So,
shout out your social media so everybody can go like, share, and subscribe that?
let's see. Facebook, there's my This Is Mooch Facebook page, and
I
then
believe that's correct,
Instagram.
yes.
I am Red Devil Mooch, I believe. And then I got the YouTube
Yeah,
channel up there too. I'm sure if you type in Chris Mooch Wrestling, it'll pop up.
yeah.
I try and get stuff up there
Mooch, I want to
daily.
thank you for making an appearance on
Yeah, that's about
this
it.
podcast. And, we're going to have to, I'm going to have you back at some time in the near future.